Welcome, friends. We have a story for you today that, well, it really makes you stop and think. Makes you question things.
It certainly does.
We're going to tell you about something that happened in a quiet American neighborhood, something that seemed ordinary, but it spiraled into just an absolute nightmare, uncovered a really shocking truth about someone meant to protect. We're looking at November 25th, 2022, Riverside, California. Started with a phone call, a neighbor worried about something they saw.
And that call, it set off a chain of events that reveals something incredibly sinister.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't just about, a crime. It's about how darkness can hide right in front of us and how vital mental health is really in every part of life.
Absolutely. It raises some really tough questions. Like,
Yeah.
how do we really assess people, especially people in positions of power? And it highlights, well, a critical need for better mental health support.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's late. Just past 11 at night, 11:02 p.m. to be exact. Riverside police get this call. Urgent. A neighbor, really worried, reporting something about the 15-year-old girl next door. Something just wasn't right. They saw her getting into a car with this older man, a stranger, and the details are just heartbreaking. She was barefoot, crying, trembling, and the neighbor said it seemed like she was desperately trying to make eye contact.
Like a silent scream for help.
Exactly, just pleading, without words.
And the man.
He looked strange. Dark clothes, raincoat, a mask, carrying a plastic bag and a backpack. Just off.
Definitely suspicious.
But this neighbor, they were sharp. They actually tried to stall him, confronted him about where he was parked, just to buy a few seconds.
That's incredible presence of mind.
It really was. Gave them time to see the car, a red Kia Forte, and get the license plate. Super important detail later on.
Absolutely crucial.
But it gets worse. After the car sped off with the girl, the neighbor notices something else.
Oh, no.
The girl's house. It's on fire.
Oh, my gosh.
So emergency services rush over. Firefighters get there fast, contain the fire. But inside,
What did they find?
it was just horrific. They found 3 bodies, 3 people. And the chilling part, they weren't victims of the fire. They'd been murdered.
So the fire was set afterwards to cover it up.
Seems that way. Just devastating.
And that neighbor's actions, calling the police, getting the car details, that was pivotal.
Total.
Without that quick thinking, that instinct to act and gather information, even in a terrifying situation.
Right.
Well, the investigation might have gone very differently. It really speaks volumes.
No question. So the victims inside the house, they were identified. It was 65-year-old Sherry Vinyl, her husband, a 69-year-old Mark Vinyl, and their daughter, 38-year-old Brooke Vinyl.
And Brooke.
Brooke was the mother of the 15-year-old girl who'd just been taken.
Oh, that's just unthinkable.
The community was understandably just shattered. People described the Vinyls as genuinely good people. Mark, he'd coached sports at the local high school, Arlington High, for over 10 years. Known for being humble, gentle, always willing to help out, a real pillar.
That's like a wonderful man.
And Cherie, she was remembered as this sweet, warm mother and grandmother. Loved her family. Apparently, she was an amazing baker, too. Her grandkids loved her holiday treats.
Just sounds like a lovely family.
Totally. And Brooke, she was a single mom, 2 daughters, just poured everything into raising them. Her other daughter, luckily, wasn't home that night.
Thank goodness for that small mercy in all this horror.
Yeah, it's just such a loss. A family that valued community, valued each other, gone.
And, thinking about this, understanding who they were, it's not just about honoring them. It underlines the sheer scale of the loss.
Right.
It shows how violence like this rips through the fabric of a community. It shatters that sense of safety, that belief that things like this don't happen here, to people like this.
It really does destroy that fundamental sense of security. So with the neighbors' info, the red Kia, the plate number, the police, they moved fast.
SWAT teams involved too.
Yeah. SWAT teams were activated. They knew they had a kidnapping, a triple homicide. They had to find that girl. And they did. They located the car on Highway 247.
Okay, so they found him.
They found him. But it turned into a high-speed chase. It got dangerous. The suspect, realizing he was caught, he started shooting at the police cars.
Wow. Firing at officers during a chase.
Yeah. Escalated things incredibly fast. The chase ended when he lost control. Driving way too fast, car went off the highway, crashed.
And the girl, was she okay?
In that moment, that chaotic moment, the girl, she opened the car door, ran straight for the officers.
Oh, thank God.
They got her to safety immediately. Just incredibly brave of her.
Absolutely, after everything she'd just seen and been through.
But the suspect, he wasn't done. He got out of the crashed car and kept shooting at the police. There was a helicopter overhead, everything.
A full standoff.
A brief one. He must have realized it was over. He was surrounded, outgunned. He turned the gun on himself.
Took his own life right there.
Right there on the highway. Ended it.
That level of desperation, the violence towards police, then turning it on himself, it speaks to a really extreme psychological state.
Yeah.
Almost like a point of no return had been crossed in his mind. Total despair, maybe.
Yeah.
Or just absolute refusal to face consequences.
Yeah.
It suggests, well, a profound break from reality.
A complete break. So officers approach the scene carefully. They identify the suspect. He's 28 years old. Name. Austin Lee Edwards.
Okay.
And then comes the shocker.
Yeah.
The thing that just floored everyone. He had his badge on him. Austin Lee Edwards was a police officer.
Wait, a police officer?
Police officer sworn to protect, now revealed as a triple murderer, arsonist, kidnapper.
That's horrifying. The ultimate betrayal of trust.
Exactly. The questions just exploded. How? Why him? What possible connection could a police officer from Virginia have with this family in California?
Right. It immediately shifts everything. It's not just a random monster anymore. It's someone who was inside the system.
Yeah.
And that instantly raises alarms about, well, systemic failures. How did this happen? How's he hired? Were there signs missed? It's deeply, deeply disturbing on so many levels.
It really is. So, the 15-year-old survivor. She's obviously been through unimaginable trauma, but she starts talking to the police, bravely telling her story.
And what did she reveal?
She explained how she knew him. She'd met Austin online, social media chat.
Okay, so there's the connection.
Yeah, but it was built on deception. He'd created this whole fake persona, pretended he was 17.
But he was 28.
28, an adult, a police officer, pretending to be a teenager online. They talked for a while, shared personal stuff. And eventually, tragically, she gave him her address, her city, not knowing who he really was.
Oh, that's a nightmare scenario for any parent. Online grooming.
Exactly. And then it turned dark. He started demanding explicit photos, videos. She got really uncomfortable, knew something was wrong, tried to break it off.
Good for her for recognizing the danger.
Definitely. But he wouldn't accept it. He pushed harder, insisted she should come live with him, even said he was buying a house for them.
That's incredibly manipulative and possessive.
And then she found out his real age, his real job, that he was a cop. He admitted it when she confronted him. But he still kept demanding things. She refused. Firmly.
Dark ground.
Yeah. And police believe that rejection, that was the trigger. His anger over being refused, combined with knowing where she lived, they think that's what drove him to drive across the country and do all this.
That is just... It's a terrifying escalation from online manipulation to real-world violence when his sense of control was threatened.
Right.
It's a chilling example of how that entitlement, that possessiveness, seen in grooming, can explode into extreme violence when the perpetrator doesn't get what they feel they're owed. He saw her, and maybe even her family, as obstacles.
Obstacles to be eliminated. It's horrifying. So investigators start digging into Austin Lee Edwards' past. And what they find, it paints a really disturbing picture. Suggests serious, long-standing mental health issues.
What did they uncover?
Back in February 2016, Austin's father, Christopher, hears strange noises from Austin's bathroom late at night. Forces his way in, finds Austin with large self-inflicted cuts. On his hand, his body.
Oh, wow. Self-harm, that's a major red flag.
Huge. And then Austin pulls out a knife, a folding knife, just starts opening and closing it. When police arrive, he tries to run. His dad tries to stop him, and Austin stabs his own father with the knife.
He stabbed his father.
Yeah. In the struggle to restrain him, officers said Austin was in a, quote, manic state, screaming, threatening everyone. Both of them ended up in the hospital.
This is years before the murder.
Years before. And at the hospital, Austin apparently said he wanted to kill his father and then kill himself.
Homicidal and suicidal ideation towards a parent.
Right. His dad thought maybe it was just a bad breakup causing it, but friends, they said no, this wasn't new. Austin had struggled since high school. Long periods of sadness, irresponsible, antisocial behavior, emotionally unstable, terrified of abandonment, extremely possessive.
That pattern. Self-harm, violence towards a loved one, the emotional instability, possessiveness, fear of abandonment. That's not just a reaction to a breakup.
Yeah.
That points to something much deeper. Potentially severe personality disorder traits. We're talking borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, maybe something else entirely, but clearly significant deep-seated issues involving emotional regulation and reality perception. That 2016 incident alone should have been a massive warning sign.
Exactly. Which leads to the big question everyone was asking. How on earth did this man with that history become a police officer just a few years later in 2022?
Right. The vetting process, what happened there?
He'd been an officer in Virginia, resigned October 28th, 2022, just weeks before the murders. Then started a new job, sheriff's deputy in Washington County, Virginia. Different agency, different state from the crime, but still.
So he moved between agencies relatively quickly.
Yeah. And then another piece falls into place. After the news breaks, this 21-year-old woman comes forward. She'd also dated Austin online.
Another one.
Yes. And she describes the same things. Threatening, possessive, demanding explicit stuff. Showing off his knife collection.
Chillingly familiar pattern.
But crucially, she never gave him her address. She said she felt so much sympathy for the 15-year-old victim, recognized how vulnerable she was.
She was lucky.
Yeah.
But her story reinforces the pattern. This wasn't an isolated incident of poor judgment. It was established behavior.
Absolutely.
Which makes the systemic failure even more glaring. This pattern, the documented 2016 violence.
Yeah.
How did that not stop him from being hired? We later found out his application was actually incomplete, missing key details about his history.
Curiously.
Yeah. Criminal history, weapons permits, the prior violent incidents, apparently not fully disclosed or discovered. It points to potential gaps in background checks, especially maybe between states, or just a failure to properly investigate the information they did have. It's a huge concern for public safety.
It's infuriating, honestly. So police put together the timeline for that day, November 25th, his day off. He drives from Virginia to California, red Kia Forte.
That's a long drive. Shows intent.
Definitely premeditated. 7 a.m., he's seen checking out the vinyl house, leaves. Comes back at 9 a.m., parks nearby, watching.
Just casing the place.
Then at 11 a.m., he makes his move, walks up to the house, badge visible, says he's a police officer.
Abusing his authority right from the start.
Totally. Only Mark and Cherie are home. He tells them this 15-year-old is involved in some case. He needs to talk to her. Cherie, trusting a cop, lets him in.
Oh, so that's just heartbreaking trust.
She calls her daughter, Brooke, tells her to bring the granddaughter home. An officer needs her. Brooke gets there, tells her daughter wait in the car, goes inside alone.
And walks right into his trap.
Exactly. After waiting a long time, the daughter gets worried, goes inside, and finds them. Her mom, her grandparents, murdered.
I can't even begin to imagine that horror.
Austin grabs her, drags her out screaming by the hair, forces her into the car. And as he's doing it, she recognizes his voice.
The online boyfriend?
The one she tried to escape, the one who now had her address. The realization must have been beyond comprehension.
Absolutely devastating.
Then he sets the fire, pours gasoline everywhere. Autopsy showed Mark and Cherie died from asphyxiation, likely bags put over their heads. Brooke died from stab wounds.
Utter brutality. And calculated.
And during the drive, he forces her to lie, tells her to say he's her father if anyone asks, stops twice for the bathroom, never lets her out of his sight.
Complete control.
And he tries to justify it all to her, tells her he knew her parents wouldn't let them be together, so he had to eliminate them, said he was rich, buying a house for them, that her family just didn't understand their love.
That is profoundly disturbed thinking, using a twisted idea of love to justify murder. It's characteristic of severe personality disorders, where reality is warped to fit their own desires and needs. It's deeply irrational yet methodical in its execution.
Methodical and monstrous. But thankfully, that neighbor's call came in. The red Kia was spotted around 1:15 p.m., led to the chase, and ultimately stopped him.
Thank goodness for that neighbor.
So the police conclusion. Austin Lee Edwards had significant untreated mental health issues. Couldn't control his thoughts, his emotions. Impulsive actions driven by this obsessive desire to possess the girl, turning to violence when rejected.
A tragic outcome stemming from untreated illness and systemic failures.
And the impact continues. The remaining family members, they've filed a massive lawsuit against the police departments where he worked.
Seeking accountability for the vetting failures.
Exactly. They argue gross negligence allowed him to be hired. That lawsuit is still ongoing. And finding out his application was incomplete, missing all that critical history, it just fuels the anger and the sense of injustice.
And it should. Beyond this specific, awful tragedy, it's a stark reminder, isn't it, about mental health in society. Experts might point to narcissistic personality disorder, traits the grandiosity, the lack of empathy, but the self-harm, the violence towards his father. It suggests something even more complex was going on. A profound inability to grasp reality, maybe. It hammers home how vital mental health awareness is. Early intervention, making it okay to seek help, removing that stigma. Because ignoring what's going on inside, well, we see how devastatingly it can manifest externally. We have to ask if we're doing enough, especially for those in positions of trust.
It really shows that mental health isn't just a personal issue, it's a community safety issue, addressing these challenges. It's crucial for preventing these unthinkable tragedies. And that, for today, is the story of Austin Lee Edwards and the Vinyl family. A really somber story, a tough one to tell. Reminds us of the struggles people can hide and our responsibility, really, to look out for each other. It underscores that mental health is just as critical as physical health. And if you or anyone you know is struggling, please reach out. Seeking help is strength. There are resources, people who want to help.
Absolutely. Fostering a society that supports mental well-being helps everyone. It starts with empathy, with understanding, and with talking about it openly.
We hope this story, as difficult as it is, has given you something to think about, maybe a deeper understanding. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive today. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll be back with another story soon.